I'm told by Energy Transfer Partners that the North Dakota situation is nothing to worry about because that Dakota Access Pipeline, I mean, what are the chances it's going to spill? Spills don't happen very often. I mean, especially in North Dakota. I mean, do we have any evidence of that? Yes. Actually, the Associated Press recently got the governor of North Dakota to admit there was recently 700 spills. Now, we just had a giant one that has been revealed. So for that, I go to the Washington Post. A ruptured pipeline has spilled more than 176,000 gallons of crude oil into a hillside and a Little Missouri River tributary about 150 miles west of Cannonball, North Dakota. So they continue to explain. A segment of the Belle Fourche Pipeline near Belfield, North Dakota began leaking earlier this month, contaminating nearly 6 miles of the Ash Coulee Creek before cleanup workers contained it. Bill Suess, an environmental scientist from the North Dakota Department of Health, told the Associated Press an estimated 130,000 gallons of oil spilled into the creek. Another 46,200 gallons leaked into a hillside, Suess told Forum News Service in a separate interview. Now, that is not Energy Transfer Partners. It's a different company. But it turns out there are oil spills, giant ones, fairly regularly in North Dakota. So, more on this spill. About 37,000 gallons of oil have been recovered so far. They explain, and a crew of about 60 workers were averaging 100 yards of cleanup per day, though snow and single-digit temperatures have complicated the response. So, now imagine if it was in the water in a significant way. So most of this was on land, but it's in the middle of winter, and you've got all these workers trying to clean it up. Barely able to. Taking a long time. And you're going to see context in a second because this is actually a small pipeline. And I'll give you a sense of how big the Dakota Access Pipeline is in a second. More from the Post. The incident stirred up fears among opponents of the Dakota Access Pipeline about what could happen if project developer Energy Transfer Partners builds a segment of pipe under a Missouri River reservoir that provides drinking water to the Standing Rock Indian Reservation. Well, then the drinking water would be contaminated. And then they would spend a lot of time in the middle of winter theoretically cleaning it up. Okay, more from this. This is a company called True Companies, an ironic name, that apparently has a long history of spills. Let me tell you about that. True Companies has a history of oil spills in the region, reporting 36 spills totaling 320,000 gallons of oil since 2006, according to the Associated Press. Federal pipeline regulators have hit True Companies with 19 enforcement actions since 2004, resulting in nearly $400,000 in penalties, the AP reported. Now, that might sound like a lot, but think about it. They make an enormous amount of money from these pipelines. So after how many spills? 320,000 gallons worth of spills. 36 of them, they paid a fine of $400,000. That's basically nothing to them. So they just view oil spills as a cost of doing business. And you get fined a tiny bit afterwards. No big deal. Why do you think it happens all the time? Because there's not much disincentive to keep them in check. Okay, now, let me tell you a little more. The Poplar Pipeline, operated by a True Company subsidiary, leaked about 30,000 gallons of crude oil into the Yellowstone River in eastern Montana in 2015, prompting a town to shut down its drinking water service to 6,000 residents, the Casper Star Tribune reported. In other words, of course it could happen in a river. Of course it could affect your drinking water. It just happened with this company just last year in Montana. So when they tell you, oh, don't worry, water protectors, you don't need to protect the water, it'll be fine. What are the chances there'll be a spill and it'll affect your drinking water? Apparently very high. Now let me give you that sense of scale. Built in the 1980s, this pipeline is 6 inches in diameter and transports about 1,000 barrels of oil daily, Suess told Forum News Service. The Dakota Access Pipeline is 30 inches in diameter and could transport more than 500,000 barrels of oil daily. Look at the damage caused by a spill in a pipeline that carries 1,000 barrels of oil a day. Imagine the damage that could happen with a pipeline that carries 500,000 barrels of oil every day. So when they tell you, oh, don't worry, nothing will go wrong, don't believe the hype. It can and often does. Corporate media
cannot play with them, cannot win with them, cannot coach with them, can't do it.
Can't do it. Join the Young Turks. Be the independent media. Get all of our shows commercial free. tytnetwork.com/join. Ooh, I thought that was pretty good.